I love Minecraft. I've been playing it forever. But I want to play with a couple of friends. I can join them in a world or something like that, but I want to make a server. I'm not paying them. So I'll make a server on one of those websites that has like Bedrock or Java servers for free, but with ads. No thanks, because they run kind of terribly. So I'm going to make it harder for myself, but make it a good opportunity to learn Linux. I'm going to make a Linux computer and try to run a Minecraft server. Look, I don't know anything about Linux. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it runs. I don't know what you're able to do with it. All I know is that out of all the desktops in the world, that 4% of them are run on Linux. And it needs to be known in a lot of fields within tech, like cybersecurity, because Linux is known for being open source and super secure, and can be used to run your servers for like networking, websites, and even Minecraft. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about Linux because I don't. But all I know is that Linux is built off a way older OS called Unix back in the 70s, and then there was something called Linux Academic Use that was made, but you couldn't share the code around. So this Finnish dude named Linus Torvalds was like, fuck that. So he made Linux in 1991. Okay, so now that we got that over with, what do I get Linux on? I'm not putting it on my computer because fuck that. I'm gonna put it on this one. This laptop is the Asus Notebook K52F K62F series, released back in 2010. This is not a gaming laptop at all. It came with an i3 and 4GB of RAM, made for everyday work and school use. It's my dad's old laptop that I used for the entirety of COVID. I didn't have a laptop or a PC, so this was my only option. I used to play like Minecraft, Friday Night Funkin', and now I'm gonna strip it for everything it's worth to become a Linux machine. I needed to inspect the laptop first and noticed it only had 4GB of RAM. So if I want a better experience from using it and hosting servers, I'm gonna need more RAM. So I got more off of Amazon, and yeah, hopefully it works. First thing you should figure out before getting Linux is figuring out what Linux you want, what distros you want. There are a ton of distros made for different people, and everyone will have a preference for which they use. The one that I came across was the Linux Mint distro. I just saw how Mint is probably the easiest Linux and most beginner-friendly distro there is to use, and honestly that's good enough for me, so I'm going to use that one. To get this whole thing set up, I'm just going to use a Mint Linux tutorial and see if I follow it correctly or something. I totally forgot to put new RAM sticks for the computer, so I'll take this part off, then reveal that, and then put new RAM in it. Put like new thermal paste that I didn't even record, and put the new RAM in, make sure the computer recognizes it. There we go. That was easy. I wish I could upgrade the storage to an SSD, but I just never did it for some reason. I could totally do it in the future, but let's just download Linux right now. For the whole process, I just followed a YouTube tutorial. So by downloading the ISO to the Linux Mint, you need to flash it into a USB stick using Balena Etcher or whatever program, and then flash it into the laptop and say, oh, hey, look, we got it running. But I'm not completely done. After I made a permanent installation and removed everything on the laptop, it was a clean slate. But with Linux, now we're done. Awesome. Okay, now what? Since I've never used Linux before, I just played around with everything in the Get Started tab and started to download the Zen browser, which I thought was pretty interesting. Now, to make a server. What the hell do I do? Like a normal person, I just used YouTube as a search engine and got a tutorial. This is when I found out, because I jumped into this without doing much research, that I could have made a server on a Windows machine, but at this point, I just didn't care. I wanted a Linux laptop anyways. I followed the steps on the tutorial, but the one I was watching was running from the Arch distro, and I didn't know if all the steps would translate into Mint, but after doing a little bit more, it did. So it didn't matter. So I had nothing to worry about. After doing a couple steps, I ran into some errors, and instead of watching back into the video to see what I did wrong, I went to ChatGPT and pasted every single error that I had, and honestly, it helped a little because I needed my solutions to be explained Barney style to me. After getting comfortable with Linux, I finally put my prompt in to start a Minecraft world. It worked. I was able to mine and craft, and I gave myself OP commands right from my computer. But the problem is that a lot of my tutorials were making a LAN server for the same Wi-Fi, and I wasn't able to share it with my friends, so I had to go to another set of obstacles to get that to work. To keep it quick, I had to go to my Wi-Fi settings from the gateway and allow port forwarding. I had no idea what the hell that even meant, so I spent so long trying to figure out, and I had to log in to my router, and I couldn't figure out the password to our router when it should be like a standard user and then a password, but it didn't work for some reason. So, but I don't know. But later I found out I could do it from the Xfinity app, and I found my device to port forward and believed everything was going great. It wasn't. For the love of God, I don't know what I did wrong, but when I did it, it even had a preset for Minecraft. I could never get it to work. Tirelessly, I was searching it up online for 2 days straight, being up until 4 in the morning. I chat GPT'd it, and I even went deep into some Reddit forums, and every time that I thought there was a solution, it's something that I've done or just irrelevant to my problem. And so I give up. I stopped doing everything I could to find out the problem, but hey, a LAN server worked, I guess. But now I knew I couldn't make a Minecraft server where all my friends could play for 4 days straight and then never play again. It was devastating. Overall, I learned that you need to do some research when doing shit and make sure you're doing it right. And I found out Linux is pretty awesome. I hate every single one of you Linux users though. You guys are fucking insufferable. So I'm going back to Windows though. Sorry.